exactly what the hell that was about. I just recently took the Zimbio quiz, which Disney theme song is is yours, and you answer the questions honestly, and I did their which Napoleon Dynamite character are you, and I was the I was Rex, the martial arts instructor. I was like, you know what, I'll take it, no problem. While I tried, like I did there, which Batman are you? They gave me the George Clooney Batman. I was like, oh hell no, 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 no. I had to go back and retake that one over and over again. Uh, but well, I took their Disney song quiz, and I was hoping for "Go the Distance" by from Hercules, and I wound up getting "Let It Go." I was like, okay, not bad. It's a great song. I love it. Very very powerful song. I forget the I forget the name of the woman who sang it. Uh, you know, did such a beautiful job. She's been on Broadway, and she's a phenomenal performer. No offense or buts. As much as I hated the movie Rent, her character, and hated her character Maureen, she played the hell out of it. Because she did what she was supposed to do. She did her job. Uh, now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because for those of you that made mention of the fact that this whole thing of religion, and especially with comics, like, oh yeah, they don't mix. Yeah, I'm saying something in defense of not not in defense of what Christians have said, because there's a lot of things that they've said that were absolutely wrong. Prime example, the reason why I'm doing this rant, or teaching I should say, is because of Frozen. They would post, somebody posted, I don't know what idiot, what moron concocted this scenario, saying that it promoted homosexuality and bestiality. It's like, where the hell did any of that come from? Even this, like, I'm not even gonna bother getting into, because that's just so far off the beaten track. But how is it that you could actually take a Christian message out of this movie? And immediately immediately I'm thinking of the prodigal son. The prodigal son is the parable that Jesus told. It was not what people don't seem to realize is that the word prodigal means wasteful. That's all that means. It means wasteful. Uh, and and it's not a sin to be wasteful. It might not be wise, but it's not but it's not a sin. Uh, when what people don't seem to realize with that is that the boy goes out. He tells his father that, oh yeah, he wants his inheritance, because he basically at the end of the story, he winds up wasting all his money. They don't say on what. The Bible never said on what. Just said riotous living, which means basically he was probably partying a lot. But as far as what happened at those parties, didn't necessarily say. When he gets to such a low point in his life, he's like, you know what, even my father's servants eat better than eat better than this. It's like they got plenty of food while I'm here, while I'm here starving. Because after he lost all his money, uh, basically famine, swept over the area that he was in, and he needed work, so he basically just goes to somebody's house, offers work, and he makes him feed the pigs, which Jews don't like pigs. The only reason why they kept pigs was for garbage disposal more than anything, because pigs eat almost anything. So, pigs were always kept in a secluded area, and then but they need to be fed. So that's where all the scraps and basically all the garbage, all the food garbage went to. So he's got to feed. He's got to feed these pigs. One, worst, Jews hate pigs, and now you're gonna make him actually have to commingle with these animals that you don't like, that they don't like. Then I was always taught that he actually ate the pig's food. It never that never happened. You read into it, it turns out there's like it said he would have. So when he comes to the realization that his father's servants eat better than him, eat better than what he's been getting, because it said nobody gave him anything. It's like he was sent to feed the pigs. Nobody gave him anything. He decides to go back home, but he feels like he's been such a disgrace. There's nothing I have to put myself down as a servant. And for those of you unfamiliar with the story, the father basically he's like, my son's come home, dresses him back up, this that the other, and throws a party for him. Then when the older brother sees it, which is basically describing how Christians more or less are acting today. Basically upset, like, oh yeah, he wasted all his money on horse. Like, first off, how the hell do you know he spent his money on horse? Unless Jesse Duplantis said unless you got horse on his mind. I was saying unless you were keeping tabs on him. Because I know a lot of people that they like to people like to call them as prodigal because they ran away. It's not that they're actually wasting anything. But these people have left, and then all of a sudden you keep hearing, oh, you know what she did, and this. Like, no, I don't hear, because I'm not keeping tabs on these people. There's no reason for me to. If they decided they wanted nothing to do with the church anymore, there's nothing I can do about it. So what are you telling? So how is it that you know what it is that they're doing, or not doing, for that matter? It's basically as what people fail to realize is that Jesus was telling basically it's two sides of the same coin. Those who go astray, and those who think they know what those who think that they know what they're talking about, and it's just as bad. The whole point of the story is well, there's so many different ways you could take it. It shows basically God's forgiveness, but what it also tells is the fact that you'd be surprised how much freedom you have in the body of Christ. I'm serious. Now back to Frozen, okay? This is, first off, people don't realize this. Bible says perfect love casts out all fear. The whole idea of her losing control of her ice powers was because she was afraid. But it was love that said love melts a frozen heart. It says perfect love casts out all fear. Now, her parents kept her in bondage. Locked her up in a room. Basically try keeping your feelings to yourself. This, that, the other. Never let her out of a room. Never let anybody inside the castle. It was just one big mess. And they taught her that from a young age. And that's what a lot of Christians have done to their children, and that's why so many of them go astray. When the whole song "Let It Go," now they try to use that as a lesbian anthem. The whole purpose of that was because now all of a sudden she has all this freedom that she never had before, or that she thought she never had. Because at the end of the movie, when she finds out that, oh yeah, love thaws a frozen heart, all of a sudden she, pretty much just sends all the ice and snow away. She was always able to do that. She was always the stuff that she was always capable of. She didn't have to leave and build the ice castle in order for her to be free. She had the ability to do it right then and there. But because of the bondage that other people put her under, that's why she ran away. And that's why everybody wound up in that that's why everybody wound up in that big mess. That's what I got out of Frozen. For somebody to look at that movie and get something totally different, you're under a very religious spirit. I forgot, like my friend posted, I forgot exactly what it said, but apparently the word religion is a Latin word which was derived from a Latin word meaning basically means put under bondage. Uh, for Queen Elsa to have been like from a young age uh basically just have her head just filled with all these negative things about what it was that she's capable of, her thinking that she had to that she would have to leave in order to get anything accomplished, and that couldn't be any further from the truth. Same thing with people in church. I've seen some. It's like I grew up with so many of these people. Then like none of them are serving God now. None of them are none of them are serving God. Their parents aren't even serving God anymore because of all that frustration that they put themselves under, that nobody else was under. All the frustration and bondage that they literally put themselves under, to the point where they couldn't take it anymore and broke free. When this was stuff that nobody told them they had to do. They took it upon themselves to put themselves under that bondage, and then they blame the church. Then they blame God. They blame other Christians, and it had absolutely nothing to, and it is basically their own fault. Like it's the world is full of it. I'm probably demonized by a lot of people for this, but for you to see something like that. The same thing happened in the 80s with the Masters of the Universe toy collection. Oh man, like Christians demonized that show, demonized those toys, trying to say that, oh yeah, basically they have witches pray over these toys, because they worship skull. What? First off, if you're trying to cast an evil spell on a toy, why would you go for the obviously demonic thing? I mean, seeing as how Masters of the Universe was Mattel's intellectual property. If you got witches praying over your toys, why don't you pray over Barbies as well? Christians had no problem buying out Barbies. Barbie's still the number one selling doll. Masters of the Universe was the number one toy in the 80s. What people don't seem to realize is that the direction that Masters of the Universe went was not Mattel's original intention. The term He-Man actually dates back to long before He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It'd be like, oh yeah, he's a He-Man, like a manly man. The original concept for He-Man was basically going to be a revised Big Jim doll. That, oh yeah, he could be anything. He could be a spaceman. He could be a barbarian. He could be a military man. He's capable of doing like all these different things, and that spun off into something else, which later turned into what we know as the original Masters of the Universe. But even that original concept of how that was supposed to come about didn't happen the way it did in the Filmation cartoon. The mini comics that were originally released for the toys was a completely different story. And now what happened was with the 2002 animated series, as well as the current Masters of the Universe Classic line, Mattel, the whole creators of Masters of the Universe, decided to go back to their original origins and basically fix everything that Filmation more or less kind of screwed up. One of those being King Grayskull. When He-Man says by the power of Grayskull, he's not praying to the castle. King Grayskull was basically the original He-Man. He was, he all the powers that He-Man had, he had himself. And in the 2002 series, basically you see what this man, basically you see what this man had gone through in order for him to basically basically to save Eternia, so to speak. And for them, basically, he dies. Protecting not only his castle but the entire planet, banishing Hordak to this other dimension, and and what happens is he takes his sword and he says basically that one of my descendants was going to wield this sword, and with it he will call upon my name and have my power. So when He-Man said, so when Prince Adam grabs the sword and says, by the power of Grayskull, that's who he's talking about. The guy who died to save who died to save the world. Christians have something similar. It's called the Bible. And we don't say by the power of Grayskull, we say in the name of Jesus. Basically, He-Man this whole time was a metaphor for what us Christians always had. But instead, you're going to demonize it, only bringing more attention to it, and then you people wonder, why is it that people hate Christians? Like the more and more I get into it, I'm just clearing up a bunch of things because one, us Christians got to get over we got to get over ourselves. Unfortunately, I'm guilty by association. And two, to basically show people who aren't Christians, who aren't believers, agnostics, atheists, more or less the reason why we believe what we believe and what they're capable of too, if they would only believe. Ah, man. On top of that, I wanted to show this right here. This is, back in the 1990s, there was this company called Eternal. It was like Eternal Comics came out with this series called Archangels the Saga. This collectible tin is actually for the prequel to that. However, I got both Archangels the Fall, which is the prequel, as well as Archangels the Saga. Archangels the Saga came out in the mid to late 90s. I wanted them as a kid, and my mom said no. And then as an adult, unfortunately, the company that printed these, first off, Eternal, the logo's backwards, but that's supposed to be an E. Like Eternal Publications, I guess, went out of business or was bought out or changed their name to Kahabra. And here, you can see their logo right there. This is actually a reprint of the original books. However, both companies are out of business. Now, I'm just going to show you right here, like this is the cover for the first issue. And for the late 90s, like thanks to Image Comics, and even some of the stuff coming from Marvel and DC. The comic book art is not as one. I'm not gonna say it was like decent for indie. Like no, it was on par. The comic book art was on par with everything that was going on at that time. The story is great. It's basically this guy right here. This angel right here. I forget his name. Cameron. Cameron is an angel that basically he was after failing to protect one boy that he was put in charge over. Basically, these different warlords from hell have taken it upon themselves to basically thinking that when they collect somebody's soul, that they become more powerful, which is a delusion, which is one of the many delusions that demons suffer from today. Satan himself as well. It's all it's all delusion. Uh, so what happens is Cameron was after failing to save uh, this one boy who had wound up killing himself. He's put in charge over this other young boy, teenager, who basically his friends, all his friends died in a car accident, and he lives. And he's going through the stress of it. He's wondering why is it that all his friends died, and he's going through depression, and eventually going to the point of killing himself. And Cameron and a small team of angels that he has helping him. He's about to suffer. He's about to suffer another failure. And one of the things that they pointed out was like you picked a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So it dealt with the whole thing of suicide. And again, the art was great. The story was great, and it showed you more or less the inner workings of the more spiritual side of things, the unseen realm, I should say. And unfortunately, that series never got too popular. I remember seeing it when I was a kid, and then later on when I was a teenager, not only reading 2 issues of it, like, and wondering, it's like, oh man, wonder how the rest of this goes. But unfortunately, like, both companies went out of business, kind of like Big Idea. Big Idea did VeggieTales for many years. I know a lot of people that weren't Christian that watched VeggieTales because it was great. VeggieTales was finally put on TV, and now Big Idea is going out of business. I don't get it. Uh, but for the most part, you know, what people don't seem to realize is that, just basically even going back to the prodigal son, you don't realize what freedoms you have, what freedoms you're actually capable of. It's through our freedoms and basically the guidance of the Holy Spirit, where he'll tell you when you're overstepping your boundaries. You know, you want to dance, go ahead and dance. But if it's if it's getting to a point where you feel you're feeling uncomfortable, like this, okay, this is going too far, that you're supposed to stop. There's definitely there's ways of knowing more or less like how far you're supposed to go as far as the freedoms that you have. A lot of a lot of people that are bound by the religion, whether it be Catholics, even a lot of all the other Christian denominations, even Buddhists, and especially Muslims. They're bound by their law. When Jesus basic thanks to Jesus, like we've been set free from the curse of the law, and which was basically death. In the Old Testament, there was no gospel. The translation of gospel means good news. There was no good news in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, there was plenty of good news, and that was Jesus, the Messiah, came. You don't have to die and go to hell anymore. That's all we're trying to say. That's all we've been trying to say. Unfortunately, people put too many labels on it, and because of that, basically we wind up in the world that we're in today. And I'm done talking. So have a good day.